What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we are going to be looking at this. This is the Vulgar preamp from Master Effects. This is a pedal platform recreation of the amps that Dimebag used in his days with Pantera. Well, that's the Randall RG and the Randall Century 200 for the main amp distortion tones. And what we're going to do is compare this pedal here to the old school original Randall RG 100. So let's go over some of the specs on the Vulgar preamp pedal from Master Effects here. We have two rows of knobs here. We have a volume knob, we have a gain knob, and a presence knob. We then have a treble and a middle and a bass. A very simple layout here. We also have a mid-notch switch here. Now, if you have it in the lower position like I have it right here, it's going to be the exact same circuit as the Randall RG 100. And if you flip it up, it's going to give you a nice mid-boost, which I'll demo on camera later here. And the last part here is the sustain function here. Now, this is a function that came on the Century 200 amps here. Now, essentially, this is a bit more gain, and with a bit more gain, you also get a bit of a volume drop as well. So you can also make up for that by turning up the volume a little bit more. And that's more or less it. We have two top-mounted jacks for the input and the output. This runs on 9 volts. And we also just have a standard, like kind of like an MXR style switch. This one is kind of nice. This is like a soft touch one, so it doesn't have the giant click that you're used to hearing on some other pedals. So very easy, very nice, and very smooth operation of the pedal as well. And a very cool thing about this pedal is that this uses the exact same circuitry that's found in the Randall RG 100. Now, back there is the Randall RG 100 HT. That's the rack mount version, but that's the exact same circuit that's found in the Randall actual amp heads, the Randall RG 100 and the 100 ES. Essentially, Master Effects has taken the gain circuitry and the exact same PCB layout and everything that is found in that Randall amp and shrunk it down to a pedal-sized platform. And a very cool thing as well that pretty well this is a 95 to 99% replica of that, minus a few parts that you actually can't get anymore, like certain resistors and certain capacitors. But otherwise, from a spec standpoint and from a parts used and everything like that and under a microscope, so this pedal and the Randall RG are basically the same thing minus a few different parts. So now this is the part of the video where we're going to hear this pedal on its own. I'm just going to be messing around with the different controls and the configurations on here, and then I'm going to be doing the exact same with the Randall RG, just so you can hear how both of these pieces of gear react to just turning the knobs and things like that, and just how they sound on their own. What you're going to be hearing is this pedal going into my interface. It's going to be going into a speaker capture of a Randall Jaguar speaker. That's what Dimebag used throughout his entire years in Pantera. Same thing with the Randall RG 100. In the back there, it's going to be going into my 2 Notes audio capture, and then it's going to be going into that same IR, and then I'm going to be putting both of these through a different kind of speaker, kind of like a more modern sound, like a vintage 30 kind of deal, so you can hear how this pedal and that amp both react to different speakers as well. So without further ado, let's hear the Master Effects on its own first. And that's going to conclude the overview and the demo of the Vulgar pedal from Master Effects. And here's my final thoughts and opinion. Now bear in mind, my friends at Master Effects did send me the Vulgar pedal, so take that for what you will. So in my honest opinion, at the end of the day, both the Vulgar and the Randall RG both sound killer. They both cover a wide variety of tones, and it's pretty sweet to know that this is actually using the same circuitry for the most part, besides a few extra components like the Randall RG. Now, listening back to the demos that I was recording with the Vulgar and the Randall, I will say that both of these, both this pedal and the head back there, they're both very, very close within each other. Obviously, this is like a 95 to 99% replica of the distortion side circuit that's in the Randall RG back there, except maybe with the sustain switch and a couple other missing parts that you can't get anymore that are unique to the Randall. So you basically have to substitute those with what you can get now, and then you have something like this. You have basically 95 to 99% of a replica of the original. And at the end of the day, I really found that this Vulgar pedal comes very, very close to the Randall RG. And something we need to really keep in mind is that we're comparing a pedal to an amp, okay? It's different if we're comparing amps to amps because they're kind of on the same playing field. We're kind of on a little bit of a different playing field. This is like apples to oranges, if you will. This doesn't have an output transformer or output transformers in it. This doesn't have to pass through a resistive load. All that kind of changes the sound passing through other different parts in the circuit, like output transformers and phase inverters and things like that. That all changes the circuit. There are a few things that I do want to mention about this comparison here, is that I really found that the Randall amp had a bit of a wider frequency spectrum that we were working with here. On the Vulgar, it seemed like it was a little, not so much limited, it maybe just didn't have as much range as the Randall. But now that probably comes with the whole fact that you can turn it up and everything sounds louder and more full when you turn it up as well. So bear that in mind as well. It has transformers and things like that. But if you're comparing like distortion to distortion and overall tonal ballpark, this is pretty well your Randall RG, if that makes sense. Another thing that I had to do with this demo is actually I had to record a few parts many times, and that's because the Randall in the back there decided to give me a couple different issues. So the owner of this amp kind of knows that it has some issues, and I've been messing around with it, and yeah, it definitely has some issues, such as like volume drops, maybe just no signal, even with brand new cables and even going straight in. It just depends, you get that old gear. Sometimes it just doesn't want to work when you really need it to work. Whereas this is just going to work all the time. And honestly, for my money, I have a hard time not recommending this when it pretty well does the same thing as that, but a little bit more reliable. I wasn't expecting the amp to fail and give me a bunch of different issues and all this extra noise, or even no signal at all. And imagine if I was to go play on stage with a whole like Pantera tribute rig, have the whole rig and everything, and just no sound. I would not want that. I'd be pretty scared, especially with the financial investment that goes into chasing down the original gear that Dimebag used. Whereas if you're going to use this, you might be in a little bit of a better situation. You can even plug this into a Seymour Duncan power stage or something like that, or a small power amp kind of deal. And then you could take this literally wherever, and it's not a big, heavy piece of gear, and you can still have it sound really good and actually keep up with a drummer in a real band situation. Something that I will note about the pedal versus the amp head is that I felt like the pedal didn't have as much gain on tap as the actual amp head, and that could be for a few different reasons. I was actually talking to the owner of Master Effects, and I think that might be a new thing going forward. Hard to say, we're still working on a couple different things, but the gain on tap so far is pretty usable, but by comparison to what it is replicating, it might have a little bit less gain than what you're used to, especially if you have one of those Randall amps on your own, and you're getting this as maybe a backup or just to try something new. And I really noticed that you have to have kind of like the textbook Dimebag settings for the most part, basically the mids all the way down. The bass you got to cut on this pedal. It does get pretty warm, which is kind of cool. It almost seems like this pedal kind of has like some tube-like warmth to it, which is actually very cool as well and very unique for a preamp pedal. And it's not a one-trick pony at the end of the day, which is something very important. Just because this says Vulgar and maybe because you saw it on this channel and I do a lot of Dimebag things, this doesn't mean that this pedal is only doing the Dimebag sound. That's why I wanted to showcase this with another speaker cabinet, so then you could hear that this just doesn't do the Dimebag sound. It does a few other sounds, and it does them actually very well, especially in a modern metal context as well. But at the end of the day, this is a really sick pedal, and I'm really happy with the results that I've been getting. This is a pretty sick pedal that's going to sound great if you're chasing the Dimebag sound, or if you're going to chase an entirely different sound but want to make your rig out of stomp boxes. So with all that being said, thanks for checking out this video. Many thanks to my friends over at Master Effects for sending me the Vulgar pedal. This is a killer pedal, and I can't wait to actually make a full-on rig based around this. Maybe do a pedal board Dimebag rig. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see that, because I am really down to make that. Let me know and we'll make it happen. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about Master Effects, I'm going to link their website in the video description below, and you can learn more about the Vulgar pedal, and you can learn more about the other pedals that they offer as well. If you learned something new in this video, drop it in the comments below, and if you have your own thoughts and opinions on the Vulgar pedal or any of those old school Randall amps that Dimebag used, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to read it. You know I always respond to those comments, you guys. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I have more gear demos like this and more Pantera and Dimebag related content similar to this, covers, and I got guitar setups and tutorials and repairs and all that good stuff as well. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.